I'm Officer Greg Lease with the Grand Rapids Police Department, along with my co-host, Sergeant Andy Morgan. And welcome to another episode of GRPD Chronicles. Today, we'll have the privilege of talking with two pivotal members of the police department, Administrative Sergeant Bob Stein and Community Service Officer Carl Fischer. Bob will tell us a little about himself, his duties with the Grand Rapids PD, and any significant and recent crime events as of late. Community Service Officer, or CSO, Carl Fischer, will help us understand the animal impound process as well as some child car seat tips. In today's Comedy Corner, we'll be treated to a squad cam action video of Officer Troy Scott as he deals with a real snake of a character while handling a terrifying call. But first, let's hear from Chief Scott Johnson in Chief's Corner.
Today I'd like to talk about the perception of police officers. There seems to be a disconnect between the narrative that's being painted by the national media and how policing is actually performed by law enforcement agencies in most of the United States. The narrative is that black men are being shot by the police and the police are not being held accountable for their actions. I'd like to compare this narrative, this national narrative, to the reality of day-to-day police work. The police are being painted as trigger-happy racists that are most likely to shoot people because of the color of their skin. When police question this, we're told you're implicitly biased. Apparently this means that we're racist and don't realize it, and frankly, I don't know how to argue with that. According to this narrative, police stop vehicles because of the race of the driver, but you know, the reality is it is rare that we can even tell the gender of a driver, let alone the race, until we walk up to the window of the car. I've been privileged to have worked the streets in Minnesota directly alongside over 200 Minnesota law enforcement officers spanning a period of over 40 years. What is being described by the national media isn't reality in most Minnesota police departments. Are there bad police officers, and do some officers in some departments cover up for each other? Well, probably, just as there are people that shouldn't be engineers, physicians, reporters, teachers, or members of the clergy. Why would we expect policing to be any different? That is why in most cities, including Grand Rapids, we spend so much time in screening police recruits. And it's the duty and responsibility of every police administrator to make sure that those who tarnish the badge no longer wear it. I don't know, maybe big city police departments are different. I've never worked in one. And most police departments in the United States are not large. You know, there's thousands of police departments in the United States employing a little over 900,000 officers, and 3/4 of these police departments have fewer than 25 officers. Here in Grand Rapids, we have 20. And frankly, police departments our size are pretty much the norm across the nation. In fact, less than 1% of the remaining police departments employ over 200 officers. So you see, the very large police departments really are an anomaly. And nobody is more angry than police officers when we see another police officer show cruelty towards a human being. After all, it's our profession. We've dedicated our lives to this. We take our integrity very seriously, and we view the trust citizens place in us as a great honor, something to be cherished, certainly not abused. Refusing to provide medical attention to someone in custody is simply wrong. Shooting an unarmed person 16 times because he's walking down the street carrying a knife but refusing to obey the commands of a police officer is wrong. Using citizens as an ATM machine with the sole purpose of obtaining revenue for the city budget is wrong. Lying about the facts of an arrest is wrong. And also to paint all law enforcement officers as biased, racist, and trigger-happy is wrong. To deny anyone, including police officers, due process and a thorough investigation is wrong. And don't think for one moment the police officers come to work each day and night thinking, hey, maybe today I'll get to shoot someone. Every officer will tell you that is their worst nightmare. Just as a military combat veteran will tell you that as well. The taking of another human life is devastating. You see, it isn't just the police officer pulling the trigger. It's also the officer's family, department, and community. Although police officers sometimes put on a false act of toughness and pretend that nothing can faze us, you know, we're really some of the most compassionate people you'll ever meet. We take an oath to protect everyone, to uphold the constitutional rights of everyone, regardless of race ethnic background or religious faith, and have committed ourselves to saving lives, not taking them, and certainly not based upon race. Police officers really don't want to take another human life, and if they are forced to do so, they're never quite the same again. The national narrative is not reality in Grand Rapids or in most police departments, but you know what sells? People read it, they watch it, and it reinforces this narrative that paints all of law enforcement in a negative light. Hold the few bad apples accountable and have faith and trust in your local police department. We know that the citizens of Grand Rapids can see the difference between this national narrative and policing in Grand Rapids. The mayor, the city council have made it known to us that they support their police department. And, citizens have approached officers shaking their hands saying, "Thanks for what you do." Mothers have brought their children to the police station along with homemade cookies, cards, and drawings done by their children. One day, at noon, boxes of pizzas along with a nice card arrived at the police station from the employees of Itasca County Human Services Department, and Shaw Floral delivered flowers one day to the station just because. This isn't all the kind things that people have done to show support for the men and women of your police department. But I want you to know it's touching and it's overwhelming. And we're sure the same things are taking place across our country. We know you will hold us accountable, but we also know you'll stand next to us. We are your police department. We're part of your community. The support you've shown to us means more than you will ever know. And from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you.
You still texting?
I gotta let daycare know that I'm running late. They charge if you're late. And I'm not usually one of those people to text and drive, and I was almost done with my text when that car came out of nowhere.
You're still buried in oncoming traffic. And that text message, it never got through.
There's a reason it's illegal to text and access the web while driving.
Bob, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me this morning, Greg.
You're the Administrative Sergeant here at Grand Rapids Police Department. Tell us about your job. What do you do here?
Well, as the Administrative Sergeant with the Grand Rapids Police Department, I oversee investigations and some other parts of the department to include school liaison, hospital security program that was started a few years back, and clerical records. I also am the liaison from other agencies in the community, like Support Within Reach, the County Attorney's Office, City Attorney's Office, try to help them get anything they might need, and keep information flowing in our agency.
Okay.
How long have you been on with Grand Rapids Police Department, Bob?
Well, I started in early 2006, so approximately 10 years.
And you did work a stint in patrol for a while, correct?
Oh, I did, yes.
Yeah.
For a few years.
Yeah. And so how long have you been in this current position that you're in?
Thinking back, probably approximately 4 years, 5 years.
And you mentioned, liaison position between the police department and several other agencies within the city and the county, correct?
That's correct.
How does that work? Exactly what does, liaison position mean as far as that's concerned?
We keep a line of communication open, and we speak with each other. If they're in need of something, I work on getting them what they need, or if I'm in need of something with their agency for a case, I speak with them. It's basically just information sharing and just keeping the lines of communication open. I don't know how better to explain it than I'm their go-to person if they have an issue or a need.
And then you relay that information to the police department?
That's correct.
Okay.
Because quite often the cases are made during evening hours, and obviously county attorneys and a lot of these other agencies you speak of work daytime hours and need follow-up and such like that during that time, correct?
You're right. There's a lot of cases that'll be started in the evening that might be more advanced than the patrol officers are able to handle because of technology, and we'll pick up from there. Or if the county attorney needs information because they're now sleeping, getting ready for the next shift, we'll find that information and pass that on to assist in the movement of the case.
Okay. Citizens Academy.
Yes.
You are the spearhead of that program. Tell us about that.
Well, Citizens Academy is an event that we put on every year. Generally, when I look at the dates, I go to the opener of fishing. That's a big deal in this community, and go 7 weeks prior to that. So if anybody's interested, it's 7 weeks prior to the opening of fishing. But it's a 7 nights, usually 2 to 3 hours, and we discuss about our police department and what makes our agency tick and law enforcement tick in our community.
Who might attend the Citizens Academy?
Anybody can attend the Citizens Academy as long as you're 18. And you have an interest in learning what our police department's about. The space is limited, so some people aren't accepted due to a lack of space.
How do they go about applying for the Citizens Academy?
Generally, put something out in the paper, plus on our website, and usually on our Facebook. But at any time of the year, they can contact the Grand Rapids Police Department at our local number of 326-3464 and request to be put on the list. And I'll definitely do that and contact them in January or February of the year and start making arrangements.
Right. So you've been on the job and with the PD for quite a while. Then versus now, can you think of any differences? Whether it be the community or how the police department operates. Some differences between how things were when you started versus how things are now. Does anything come to mind?
Well, several things come to mind how things are now compared to then. First off, I didn't have all the responsibilities and knowledge that I have now. But I think technology has really driven a lot of how we do things in the police department. As you're aware of body camera issue, squad car video, I didn't have that right away when I started. But with technology, they become more difficult to investigate crimes where someone's being scammed or fraud cases due to the always moving and upgraded technology. But as far as things change in our community, I don't think that we've had much change in the support for our police department. I think it's been pretty stable and steady. I think that is a stable and steady base we can go off of. But recently we've had a lot of support with this trying time where people come up to us and say we appreciate what you do. So
yeah, I think I've put on a few pounds just from all the
food,
cake and brownies and
it's really hurting my diet. Really hurting my diet. So
yeah. In your position, Bob, you kind of have your finger on the pulse of what's going on as far as crime events or crime trends or things that the public would be interested in knowing. Is there anything right now that we should maybe talk about briefly?
The subject that comes up a lot is technology-based once again. Due to technology, a lot of scammers are out there. They're able to make you think you're getting a call locally or getting a call from the IRS or getting a call for Publisher Clearinghouse. That's the new one now, Publisher Clearinghouse. And they're targeting the older citizens out there who don't know this is going on. They generally think they've received a check for Publishers Clearinghouse winning this money, and they want them to go cash the checks, send them the money, and then they'll get the money after that. But those are all scams. Anything where they're giving you money and claiming to give you money, it's a scam. That's not how it works. And especially the IRS, they're not going to call you on the phone and threaten you. They're going to send you something in the mail, certified usually, I suppose.
Absolutely, it will be certified.
So I'd really be aware of all these scams out there.
Yeah. Where do you think these scams originate from? Or is there a way to find where these scams originate from?
Once again, because of technology, they can change the number that comes in on your caller ID at any time to make it think it's local or from a different number. We have tracked, Andy, you worked underneath me there for a while. We worked together in investigations, and we tracked one to Ghana, Africa, and the Homeland Security and the FBI said, we're done, nothing more we can do now. A lot of them, they go from here. If you Western Union that money, it's gone, and it always ends up out of country.
Sure. I worked a case just like this a week ago, and an elderly woman was targeted, and then I ended up calling the phone number back, and it was actually somebody with like an East Indian accent. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this originates from anywhere in the world, and if you send money, that money's gone, and we don't have the resources to do a global investigation. right?
That's correct. We don't have the resources or the jurisdiction to go outside those type of parameters. We've tried.
And the one thing that I always say is, if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
If it's too good to be true, it is.
And just like you said, like with the telephone number, also, you know, any mailings through the post office or any other delivery service, there's truly no way of confirming where that comes from. Because ultimately you could just put a false address, return address on there, correct?
That's right. And with technology, once again, you go on the internet and get the logo for Publisher Clearinghouse, you get the logo for the IRS, and you just copy paste that onto a document and print it. It looks official. And a lot of people that aren't aware of this technology and the ability to do it, they're targeted and they'll end up sending money. So if you have any concerns about what this document is, call the police department, ask for me. We'll look into it for you.
And once you receive once you become a target the first time, you would say it's common that you receive second calls or second contacts in reference to similar scams?
Right. Publisher Clearinghouse scam that just came out, we've received several people come to the window saying this is a scam. We confirmed, yep, it's a scam. They didn't lose any money, thank God, and everything's all well. But just, yeah, once they pop up, they stay around a while, people catch on to the new scam, it dies off, and then they bring in a new one.
But quite often those folks are then targeted for the next scam as well.
They can. If they call that number that they received the message from, or they respond back, their name will go on a list and they'll get bombarded. So a lot of people end up changing their phone number because of it.
Absolutely. I think it's important to know too that because the elderly are often, I should say, targeted by these type of scammers, that, you know, I think it's incumbent upon, you know, their adult children or adult family members to kind of keep an eye on them, you know, and maybe try to the best of their ability to stay attuned to what's going on with, you know, their parents or their elderly family members' financial situations and whatever, because, you know, we're oftentimes a little more privy to that it's actually a scam than the elderly is in today's day and age. So.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I would say that's a population that's extremely trusting, and unfortunately fall victim to being contacted and potentially making the mistake of participating in the scam.
And it's no fault of their own. They're just not used or aware of this type of technology. I mean, how could you get a letter with that information on there if it wasn't true? You know.
Well, Bob, I sure appreciate you swinging by today and talking to us and giving us all this information. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Bob, if somebody should want to get a hold of investigations, how would they go about doing that?
Well, you would call the Grand Rapids Police Department at 218-326-3464 and ask to talk to investigations, and they'll transfer you to one of the investigators or myself, and we'll get back to you.
Excellent.
So
thanks again for coming in, Bob. Each year, members of the Grand Rapids Police Department work zealously in preparing for National Night Out. The event is held each year at Central School in early August. National Night Out is a community building get-together that promotes police-community partnership and public camaraderie to make our neighborhoods safer, better place to live. Many businesses, groups, and emergency service providers set up tables to promote community involvement and to improve community partnerships. There are always drawings for kids, canine presentations, and emergency service displays for all to enjoy. And because we're all good sports, the most popular event is always the dunk tank, where police, deputies, firefighters, and officials take their turns getting dunked. The kids love it, and we do too. Hi, now we'll be speaking with Community Service Officer Carl Fischer with Grand Rapids Police Department. Carl, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Carl.
Well, I started my career in law enforcement as a deputy in the Calvert County Sheriff's Office down in Southern Maryland. During that time, I worked primarily road patrol. I also did DARE, so I was in the classroom teaching DARE. I also did the crash reconstruction. So anytime there was a major crash, I responded and did that investigation.
Okay, and how long were you with them?
Just about 7 years before I decided to move out here.
Okay, excellent. Now you're the Community Service Officer, the CSO with Grand Rapids Police Department. Tell us a little bit about that position, what it is, and how long you've been here.
Okay. Well, I've been with the GRPD for just about 2.5 years. I started in the hospital as hospital security. Then about a year ago, I moved into the position of the CSO, the Community Service Officer. One of the things that we focus on as a CSO is animal control. Then we have a wide spectrum of duties that I do. I help officers when they respond to calls, just kind of act as an extra set of eyes, maybe an extra set of hands if need be. I perform traffic assistance when there's a crash. I will usually be seen out and about directing traffic.
You sit on tow trucks for the road officers?
Absolutely. If there's a crash an officer needs to clear to go to the hospital or to start their report, I sit and wait for the tow to come and assist with that as well.
Basically, I see you as kind of the workhorse. Anything that we need help with, you're always there for.
Absolutely. So. I'm here to support you guys on the road. Your job is tough enough as it is, so anything that I can do to support you guys, I do what I can.
And by the way, you're from the East. You're doing a great job at hiding that accent.
Thank you. I don't think I ever really shown too much of an accent. But.
Yeah.
Well, with one of the huge responsibilities being animal control, tell us a little bit about that. What services we provide, where animals are housed, and so on.
Okay. Traditionally, if someone calls in a found animal, if they're within city limits, then we will respond out and collect the animal. The first thing that I like to do is try and scan for a microchip or check the tag, because those are indicating factors that would tell me potentially who the owner is. If I can locate the owner prior to taking the animal to the Grand Rapids Animal Control Facility, I will do so. I'll take them over and drop them off if possible. I also service La Prairie and Cohasset and Coleraine. Primarily, another officer will respond from the sheriff's office to collect the animal and bring them to the pound. We do not, however, take cats that are from the county. That's a misconception that people may have. County cats are seen as being out in the country and being able to control themselves and take care of themselves. So they're used to being outdoors and don't need to be collected. We also. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's a great point. That's what cats do. They wander around and they hunt.
Absolutely.
And granted, we don't want a whole bunch of animals running around the city, but I think oftentimes more harm is done by picking up a cat. Even with good intentions,
right,
than good is done.
Absolutely.
Because the cat will usually end up back where it's supposed to be. That they're a little bit different than a dog.
Absolutely, that's a good point. Another thing that I would like to touch on is that we don't take feral cats. Feral cats are seen as wild animals, which brings me into the fact that we don't take wild or exotic animals either. So we are primarily for cats that are well groomed, well taken care of, that are indoor cats that are here in the city. And then we also take dogs that are from the entire Itasca County.
Sure. Okay, another responsibility or program that you're involved with is the child car seat, the safety seats. Tell us a little bit about that program.
Well, it's an excellent program. Folks can contact me or the Grand Rapids Police Department and come in and receive an inspection for a car seat that they already have. Which case I'll run them through, the proper installation, make sure there's no recalls on the car seat, and then ultimately they'll have the knowledge to put the car seat in and feel safe that their child is protected in the vehicle.
Sure. And that's just a simple phone call?
Absolutely. They can contact the Grand Rapids Police Department and just let them know that they would like to have an officer help with the installation of a car seat. Most likely that will be myself. They can either leave a voicemail or be contacted directly to my work cell phone.
I see. with part of that program, there is an aspect of that where we provide car seats, correct?
Correct. Families would have to contact the WIC program. The WIC program has a list of qualifying features. If that family qualifies for a free car seat, they can receive a letter from the WIC program, at which time they would contact me, let them know that they are in need of a new, clean car seat, which case they can come in and we'll provide one for them. And we get that money through a grant through the state, so it's really a good program.
Okay. I see. How many car seats would you guess that we go through, either providing the actual car seat or doing safety inspections as well?
Oh, gosh, several. There'll be times that I'll have maybe 2 a week, and then there'll be a little bit of a break. So
sure.
I would guess, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 families served throughout the year, probably.
Okay. Another role that you had spoken of was, or another role that I know you to be involved with, is the enforcement of city ordinance and blight.
Yes.
About town. What can you tell us about that, Carl?
Blight is put in place as a city ordinance to keep our communities looking beautiful. We all want to have pride in our community, and so that's why we've put the blight enforcement.
What can you give us for examples of blight?
For an example, one of the things that we're seeing now is long and tall grass. That is becoming an issue. That can actually lead to higher tick population, which can lead to disease. So that's one of the things that we make sure that we enforce.
More mosquitoes.
Absolutely.
More mosquitoes in today's day and age with the Lyme epidemics. So yeah, it's pretty important.
Absolutely.
How does the process of blight work once you've identified a property?
Once we identify that there's a blight situation, I will contact the resident as well as the homeowner if it's a rental property. Give them a notification as to what is a blight violation, whether it be a junk car or junk vehicle on the property, whether it be trash or clutter on the property. And I'll give them 10 days in order to get that corrected. If they, at the end of the 10 days, that it wasn't corrected, depending on how much work I've seen, depending on what progress I've seen, I may grant a small extension in order to get things taken care of. If not, if I haven't seen any work done, they will receive a citation for a blight violation.
Okay. And it's good to point out that these are both owned properties and rental properties, and both that owners and renters, or the individuals staying in those residences, have a responsibility in reference to the blight, correct?
Absolutely. That is a good point, because the citation actually goes to the property owner. So if you are renting, your landlord would in fact receive the citation, and what happens from that point is up to the landlord-tenant agreement.
Sure. And ultimately, this could end up in a citation, you'd indicated.
Yes, correct. If the blight hasn't been taken care of, if I'm not observing much progress, it will ultimately end up in a citation.
I think it's important to point out that the goal of the department, or of enforcement, or of oversight of these properties, is more of to fix it and to maintain the property more so than citations, right? Correct?
Absolutely. I don't know of many properties that I've only given that 10 days. Most people take pride in their property. Most people take pride in where they live. And they might just have fallen into hard times. They might be busy with work. And I take all of those things into factor, especially if there's a health issue. I traditionally give people an extended period of time. With a few cases, there have been a time when I have assisted or tried to contact other members of the community that might be willing to help if there's an elderly person or someone with a health concern, so that way it can get taken care of.
That, and potentially, I would assume, family as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's important to point out, it's more of an effort to rectify the situation more so than citations.
Correct. And I would say probably about 95% of the blight cases that are out there get taken care of and do not receive a citation.
Okay. How do most of the properties come in, or how do you become aware of most of the properties? Is it through patrol? Is it through people calling in? A combination?
It's kind of a combination. Neighbors want to have a good relationship with other neighbors, and if they've tried to contact the neighboring house and let them know, hey, your junk's piling up, or hey, your grass is getting a little long. If they've tried that route and it's not successful, then they will call and notify us. But one of the main duties is blight for myself. So in my downtime, I actually do patrol, and I go throughout the city limits to try and look for something that might be considered blight and notify the landlord or the tenant.
I see. And if somebody would wish to report a blight issue or an animal issue, how would they go about doing that?
Well, they can do it two ways. They can either call the Grand Rapids Police Department at 218-326-3464 and just notify the person who answers the phone that they have a found dog, or they have an animal complaint, or they have a blight issue, which case that person will then transfer them to the Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center, or they can contact the Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center directly at 218-326-3477.
Carl, your position is integral with the Grand Rapids Police Department and very appreciated, and you take a huge load off of our shoulders so we as patrol can go do other things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important to recognize that. Not only do you provide a great service to the community, but also, like Greg said, assisting us. And it definitely shows that you come to this position with some law enforcement background, and it's an asset. You're a huge asset to the department.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
Thanks, Carl.
Last episode, we introduced the Comedy Corner, in which we showcase some unique pieces of video showing amusing material that rarely is seen by the public. Everyone has quickly assumed that such material would always focus on odd observations of the public captured by law enforcement. This week, we have a special segment involving Officer Troy Scott and his never-ending love for all creatures. In late May, Grand Rapids Police Department assisted area 3rd grade classes in their annual bike trip that departs from Itasca County Fairgrounds and ends at Gun Park, where the kids enjoy a bag lunch. Law enforcement was asked to assist youth in safely crossing County Road 61 just north of Grand Rapids. Officer Troy Scott and I proceeded north and awaited the children's arrival. During our wait, Troy pointed out a teeny tiny gardener snake slithering about the grass. As a good partner, I quickly recognized this an ideal opportunity for Troy to address his anxiety of snakes. I gathered the snake and attempted to simply show Troy that there is nothing to fear. As you can see, Troy's phobia of snakes is still profound.
Holy cow! Ah! Run away! Get away from me! You stink!
After the event occurred, you can see me hustling back to my patrol car to activate the in-squad camera to ensure that this historic material is captured forever.
I'm going to label that one priceless.
Troy currently continues therapy, and as part of his progression would greatly appreciate being contacted for all nuisance snake calls. Just kidding. As Carl earlier indicated, we do not provide services for non-domesticated animals or exotic animals.
Well, it's time to wrap it up. If you have information that you believe would assist law enforcement, we ask that you contact investigations at 218-326-3464 or contact our tip line at cityofgrandrapidsmn.com. That is tipline@cityofgrandrapidsmn.com or call 218-326-7633. Remember, you can always private message us on the Grand Rapids Police Department's Facebook page as well. Callers do have the ability to remain anonymous, and every effort will be made to respect the source's privacy. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.